Hello everyone, and welcome to Tabletop Odyssey. Today we're reporting on a match between Schtook and Basse. We are playing on corner deployment with our strategy as Stuff the Ballots. Our scheme pool was Protected Territory, Espionage, Deliver a Message, Ensnare, and Sweating Bullets. Both my opponent and I chose to take Deliver a Message and Protected Territory. For my list for this game, I chose Basse 2, the Badlands Sheriff, with Expert Marksman, 8 Clockwork Traps, that's right, 8 Whole Ankle Biters, 2 Pathfinders to shepherd them around, and a pair of out-of-keyword Rocketeers for scheming with. I had 4 stones remaining. For this game, as I have yet to sort my own Basse 2 out, I'll be proxying with Basse 1 here. My plan of attack for this game was to limit his movement capabilities to his deployment zone and then stall him out while I got to scoring my strategies and my schemes. My opponent, on the other hand, took Schtook 2 Stargazer with the Whisper upgrade, his totem, the Research Assistant, 2 Students of Viscera to ignore my severe dust clouds, 2 Necropunks, the Valedictorian, and Ezekiel with Grave Spirit's Touch as a local guest speaker. They wanted to note that they had converted their Stargazer to have a different zombie model. They also had 4 stones available for this game. So let's get into it. With 8 traps ringing the corner deployment, my opponent was feeling a little trapped, so dedicated the whole turn to clearing them out. Utilising a combination of his assistant's alchemical vials and Schtook's Light of Ilios, the shockwaves started to whittle down my wall of metal. He then used Ezekiel to summon and then murder a zombie to pulse out focus to his crew, and then bluffed Espionage by dropping a scheme marker down. The good professor then helped throw his students over the wall of steel with his 3-inch place from study of anatomy. The Valedictorian then came through and butchered 4 of my precious traps with a combination of flurry and shove aside, but not before I'd managed to stagger both the Students of Viscera and Valley herself, severely limiting their scope. I then body blocked my traps between the students using my "You're coming with me" trigger to force them to kill it. Only the Necropunks managed to make some headway into no man's land using their leaps. While he flurried his way through my trap wall, I used the opportunity to get my Rocketeers into position for some early scoring on the strategy turn 2. Now, heading into turn 2, the Necropunks managed to evade some heavy fire from Basse and the Pathfinders to secure the corner point, while the other punk barely made it to the point near them before falling to the Rocketeer lighting them up. Unfortunately, while I managed to secure 2 points myself, the centre and one of the quadrants, I was unable to contest the other quadrant with Bernardette due to an emergence of a long metal snake man. Those Students of Viscera are sure mean. Fortunately, my remaining trap had pulled the Joker out of my opponent's hand in order to dismantle it, protecting my more important pieces from attack. Unfortunately, my inability to resummon any more throughout the game would haunt me when combined with the obscene draw power of studied opponent. Combining his strong hand sculpting with lessons learned, he was able to constantly apply pressure on my crew. Valley Girl deviated from her flank hunting to return to the centre, but was met with Basse's combo of stagger, stunned and slow from his shackles, punishing her for her prior health and safety violations and her cruel vandalism of guild equipment. At the end of turn 2, we both held 1 point apiece from strategy. Turn 3, the heat turned up as the good professor started setting up for protected territory by throwing out scheme markers, with the light of Ilios, into the midfield as Ezekiel summoned the zombie that would become my undoing. The Valedictorian saw her opportunity to deliver a message to Basse, something she had forgotten to do last turn, as I made a concerted effort to keep my Rocketeer in the centre alive. Despite my Pathfinder's best efforts to disengage Bernardette, who was slowed and stunned, so she could score, my opponent sent a second slithery foe to delete her off the board, denying my vote to cancel his out. In turn, I tried to flee with the Pathfinder to sneak a vote in the far corner of the map, as the Necropunk set up for protected territory. I started to feel the tension as Basse took a beating from the Valedictorian, but managed to stay alive. Probably because they were attempting their point for deliver a message later on. Turn 3 ended 3-2 to my opponent, 2 points each for stuff the ballots, and a point for deliver of message for my opponent. Turn 4, I managed to seize the initiative with the red joker, and since von Schtook had done me the service of coming closer, my Rocketeer triggered their thrusters and delivered my message to them, before going down in a blaze of glory. My Pathfinder on the flank secured a vote, but the Student of Viscera hunted him down and cancelled it out, denying me a third strategy point. Valet tried to disengage from Basse, but being staggered made it difficult, and she didn't manage to leave his 2-inch engagement, meaning my opponent was denied the chance at a third strategy point themselves. My second Pathfinder then left his sniping post in an attempt to scheme a second marker down for protected territory, something my other Rocketeer had set up earlier, as they had made a claim for their backfield ballot. Unfortunately, Carrie the zombie proved to be their undoing, as some high cheating prevented me from going away from him and getting into position. It turns out that attacking size isn't always the best against zombies. Who'd have thought? Especially gremlin zombies. Seeing me pinned, he then sent his Necropunk to take some votes off of one of my secured pillars, meaning I was in an uphill battle, as Ezekiel ran across the field to engage my sneaky Pathfinder. The Professor then made a move to punish me by dropping schemes down left, right and centre with the light of Ilios, to force deliver a message's second point, and then to grant himself the first point of protected territory. He then, using study of anatomy, heaved the Valedictorian to freedom, albeit a little too far from a ballot run. End of turn 4, 4-3 to von Schtook, 2 points on ballot apiece, 1 point on deliver a message apiece, and 1 point of protected territory to von Schtook. Left with 3 models to their 8, and a load of pass tokens, I needed to deny them 3 points and score 2 myself if I wanted to win. With ballots now unachievable for me, and a Necropunk babysitting my scheme, I needed to escape a scheme marker, and run towards my own scheme marker, put another scheme marker down 10 inches away, place another scheme marker down 2 inches from von Schtook, and find a way to avoid Basse being within 2 inches of any himself. Hope that my opponent then can't claim another ballot, and find a way to remove his schemes from scoring protected territory. Safe to say, quite hard. I played pass token after pass token, waiting for von Schtook himself to go, so I could see the mountain of my task, as his snakes dropped schemes around Basse with fervour. My first real blow came when Ezekiel summoned a zombie next to my Pathfinder, meaning my path to victory became even harder. I knew Twisting Tornado could still help him escape, however, to score, and I just saved my last stone for a tumbleweed trigger on Order in the Badlands, instead of swapping my, albeit quite terrible handout for better cards, in order to clear out his schemes near my dust marker. It wasn't all over yet. Then the Valedictorian crushed my hopes of a win by, instead of going for the ballots in the far corner, decided to consolidate a protected territory point in tandem with the Necropunk in the corner, out of reach of my removal, meaning effectively the game was at 5 points to 3. I could still draw, but a win seemed a little bit too out of my grasp. My hopes then died as von Schtook took his turn. Astronomical insignificance shone onto my Pathfinder, eliminating any chance of scoring with him, and then laid bare the challenge of avoiding 3 schemes in range of Basse. I'd have to score with Basse now instead. Then von Schtook swung his telescope round and bashed Basse over the head, stunning him. My chances of using Order in the Badlands to remove his schemes were effectively gone with the tumbleweed. My Pathfinder showed some grit and decided to show Basse the way after disengaging and led him outside of message range, but I needed a scheme still. I still had the option of last activation, as I went with the Rocketeer and then slipped through Carrie's fingers by an inch to sit back beside my prior placed scheme, hoping to get the second point of protected territory. Having taken another look at Deliver a Message, however, we then realised that I could actually score both protected territory and deliver a message off the same scheme, and so my opponent laid a final gambit to stop Basse escaping. With his last activation, his research assistant charged in as Basse fended off the flailing arms. 1 activation left. I knew by now that I had lost the game, with the Student of Viscera claiming the far objective for ballots. I just needed to make it tight. I swung my shackles round at the research assistant and red jokered for damage for a swift KO and snuck through the gap of engagement ranges to manage a scheme placement near the safety of a ballot box, evading 1 point and thereby scoring 2 myself. The game then ended 6-5 to von Schtook. 3 points in ballots to von Schtook, 2 points on protected territory and 1 point to deliver a message, to my 2 points on ballots, 2 points on deliver a message, and 1 point on protected territory. I want to wish a huge congratulations to my opponent on their victory. They're such a strong player and I'm really proud of the effort I made with a brand new crew for me. I'll be continuing the rest of this league with Basse, so I'm sorry if the matches are a little less varied for the next few games, but I'll be sure to showcase some more afterwards. Lessons learnt. So, von Schtook is a very, very sturdy master, and my opponent is a really strong one. He knew exactly how to escape my traps well, and utilised his snaky boys effectively. Stunned, of course, is a really massive pain in the arse, so his ability to sculpt his hand off a studied opponent really made him quite a difficult opponent to beat. From my side of things, Basse was really fun and actually quite enjoys corner, as they can trap opponents in, making them an unlikely control master. Unfortunately, my guns proved a little ineffective, and my lack of owning the Clipper model meant that I had a little way of breaking through all that armour. Clipper, therefore, will be my next purchase. I'm really excited to continue the league and see just exactly what I can do with Basse. I hope you enjoyed this battle report, and if you did, please make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and hit the bell button for more. Special thanks to my opponent and to Imps Gaming in Lincoln for letting us use their wonderful space and terrain. This has been Tabletop Odyssey. I hope you find your favourable terrain and follow my path.